In a world where people react quickly, speak emotionally, and argue to prove themselves right, truly wise people stand out. They do not raise their voices to gain respect. They do not lose control when challenged. Instead, they choose their words carefully, speak with calm confidence, and leave a lasting impression wherever they go. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood a powerful truth: your greatest strength is not found in how loudly you speak, but in how well you control your emotions. When you learn to respond with wisdom instead of anger, people listen more closely, respect you more deeply, and value your presence. Many people believe that being silent means being weak. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Silence can be strength. Patience can be power. A calm response can defeat an argument more effectively than 100 angry words. The wise person does not waste energy trying to win every battle. Instead, they focus on mastering themselves. In this video, you will discover 5 smart phrases that instantly make you sound wise, mature, and emotionally strong. These phrases can help you handle criticism, disagreements, difficult conversations, and stressful situations without losing your composure. By practicing them regularly, you will develop the calm confidence that attracts respect and admiration from others. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. If you enjoy Stoicism, self-mastery, and practical wisdom for everyday life, this channel is for you. Your support helps us create more powerful content that can transform lives and bring timeless Stoic lessons to a new generation. Let's begin with the first phrase. 1. Let me think about that. Wisdom. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting in a room filled with people. A discussion is taking place, and suddenly someone challenges your opinion in front of everyone. The atmosphere becomes tense. All eyes turn toward you. Your heart beats a little faster. Your mind begins searching desperately for the perfect response. Most people in this situation react immediately. They speak quickly, defend themselves aggressively, and try to prove they are right. Yet this is exactly where many people lose their power. The Stoics understood something that most people never learn. The greatest strength is not found in speaking first. It is found in controlling yourself before you speak. This is why the simple phrase, "Let me think about that," is one of the most powerful expressions of wisdom a person can use. At first glance, these words may appear ordinary. They seem too simple to be life-changing. But beneath their simplicity lies a profound lesson about emotional mastery, patience, and self-control. Many years ago, a young man named Marcus worked in a busy marketplace. Every day he interacted with hundreds of people. Some were friendly, while others were rude and impatient. Marcus was intelligent and hardworking, but he had one weakness. Whenever someone criticized him, he reacted immediately. If a customer complained, he argued. If a coworker disagreed, he became defensive. If someone insulted him, he felt compelled to strike back with words. As time passed, Marcus noticed something troubling. His quick reactions often created bigger problems than the original disagreement. Small misunderstandings turned into major conflicts. Relationships became strained. Opportunities disappeared. At night, he would replay conversations in his mind and think about all the things he should have said differently. One afternoon, an elderly philosopher visited the marketplace. Unlike everyone else, this man never seemed rushed. He moved calmly, spoke carefully, and remained peaceful even when surrounded by chaos. Marcus admired him and eventually asked the secret behind his remarkable composure. The old philosopher smiled and said, "Most people believe wisdom is knowing what to say. True wisdom is knowing when not to speak." Marcus was confused. The philosopher continued, "Whenever someone challenges you, your emotions demand an immediate response. Anger wants to defend itself. Pride wants to prove itself. Fear wants to protect itself. But wisdom waits. Wisdom observes. Wisdom thinks." Those words stayed with Marcus for days. Soon an opportunity arrived to test what he had learned. A customer accused him of making a mistake and spoke harshly in front of several others. Normally Marcus would have responded instantly. He would have argued and tried to defend himself. Instead, he paused and quietly said, Let me think about that. The customer seemed surprised. For the first time, Marcus was not reacting emotionally. He was creating space between the criticism and his response. Within that space, something remarkable happened. His anger began to fade. His mind became clearer. He was finally able to see the situation objectively. After reflecting for a moment, Marcus realized that part of the customer's complaint was actually valid. Rather than creating an argument, he calmly addressed the issue. The conflict ended peacefully. The customer left satisfied. More importantly, Marcus discovered something powerful. The pause had given him control. This lesson applies to every area of life. Many people destroy relationships because they react before they think. A careless comment from a spouse leads to a heated argument. A disagreement between friends becomes a permanent separation. A moment of frustration at work damages a professional opportunity. In most cases, the problem is not the situation itself. The problem is the impulsive reaction that follows. The Stoics taught that external events are beyond our control, but our responses belong entirely to us. This principle is easy to understand and difficult to practice. When emotions rise, self-control becomes a challenge. Yet this is precisely why the phrase, "Let me think about that," is so valuable. It creates a protective barrier between emotion and action. Consider how often people demand immediate answers. They want instant decisions, instant opinions, and instant reactions. Society often treats speed as a sign of intelligence. However, history repeatedly shows that many of the greatest mistakes were made by people who acted too quickly. Wise individuals understand that thoughtful decisions require reflection. When someone asks a difficult question, you do not need to answer immediately. When someone criticizes your actions, you do not need to defend yourself instantly. When someone attempts to provoke you, you do not need to react emotionally. You always have the option to pause and think. This ability becomes even more important during moments of conflict. Anger narrows perspective. Fear clouds judgment. Pride distorts reality. A person controlled by emotion rarely sees the full picture. By stepping back and allowing yourself time to reflect, you give reason the opportunity to return. The ancient Stoics viewed reason as humanity's greatest gift. They believed that wisdom comes from aligning actions with rational thought rather than emotional impulses. Every time you say, "Let me think about that," you strengthen this discipline. You train yourself to respond intentionally instead of reacting automatically. As Marcus continued practicing this habit, people began noticing a change. He seemed calmer, more confident, more mature. Interestingly, he was not speaking more often than before. In fact, he was speaking less. But when he did speak, his words carried greater weight because they came from thoughtful reflection rather than emotional reaction. This is one of life's great paradoxes. The people who feel the least need to prove themselves often earn the most respect. They are comfortable with silence. They are comfortable with uncertainty. They do not fear taking time to think. Over the years, Marcus became known throughout the marketplace for his wisdom. Whenever conflicts arose, others sought his advice. They trusted his judgment because they knew he would not respond impulsively. He listened carefully, reflected thoughtfully, and spoke deliberately. His transformation began with a simple phrase. 3 words. "Let me think." Those words taught him patience in a world obsessed with speed. They taught him self-control in a culture driven by emotion. They taught him that wisdom is not measured by how quickly you respond, but by how thoughtfully you respond. The next time someone challenges you, criticizes you, or pressures you for an immediate answer, remember Marcus and the lesson he learned. Resist the urge to react. Take a breath. Create space. Allow your emotions to settle and your reason to awaken. Then calmly say, "Let me think about that." You may discover that those simple words possess more power than any argument, more strength than any emotional reaction, and more wisdom than 1,000 impulsive responses. 2. You may be right. Wisdom. Few phrases are more powerful, more disarming, and more misunderstood than the simple words, "You may be right." At first, many people resist this phrase. They hear it and immediately think it sounds weak. They believe that admitting another person might be right somehow diminishes their own intelligence or authority. Modern culture often encourages us to defend our opinions at all costs. We are taught to argue harder, speak louder, and fight relentlessly for every belief we hold. Yet Stoicism teaches a very different lesson. The wise person is not obsessed with being right. The wise person is obsessed with finding the truth. To understand the true power of this phrase, imagine a young scholar named Lucian who lived in a bustling city known for its debates and public discussions. From a young age, Lucian was praised for his intelligence. He read countless books, studied philosophy, and possessed an exceptional memory. Whenever discussions took place, he almost always had an answer. People admired his knowledge, but there was a problem. Lucian loved being right more than he loved learning. Whenever someone disagreed with him, he treated the conversation like a battle. He interrupted others. He defended every opinion. He searched for weaknesses in opposing arguments. Even when he was wrong, he found ways to justify his position. As the years passed, Lucian won many arguments but lost something far more important. He lost friendships. He lost opportunities to learn. He lost the respect of people who viewed him as arrogant and difficult. One evening, while attending a gathering of philosophers, Lucian witnessed something unusual. An elderly Stoic teacher was speaking with a group of students. A young man challenged nearly everything the teacher said. He questioned his reasoning, criticized his conclusions, and confidently explained why he believed the teacher was mistaken. Lucian waited eagerly for the old philosopher to destroy the student's argument. Instead, the philosopher smiled and calmly replied, "You may be right." The room fell silent. The student seemed confused. The philosopher continued, "If your argument contains truth, I should be grateful for the opportunity to learn. If your argument contains error, time will reveal it. Either way, I gain nothing from defending my pride." Those words struck Lucian like lightning. For the first time, he realized that wisdom and ego are often enemies. His constant need to be right had prevented him from growing. Every disagreement became a threat because he viewed correction as humiliation instead of education. That night changed his life. The next morning, Lucian began paying attention to how often pride influenced his conversations. He noticed that whenever someone disagreed with him, his immediate reaction was emotional. He felt a desire to protect his image, defend his intelligence, and preserve his reputation. But he also noticed something else. Whenever he paused and genuinely considered another perspective, he learned things he would have otherwise missed. One day, while discussing business with a merchant, Lucian confidently explained why a particular investment would succeed. The merchant listened patiently before presenting several concerns. Normally, Lucian would have dismissed them immediately. Instead, he paused and said, "You may be right." The merchant explained his reasoning in greater detail. As Lucian listened, he realized that the concerns were valid. Had he ignored them, he would have made a costly mistake. For the first time, admitting another person might be right had protected him rather than weakened him. The Stoics believed that truth matters more than personal pride. They understood that human beings are imperfect. No matter how intelligent we become, there will always be things we do not know. There will always be blind spots in our thinking. There will always be opportunities to learn. The phrase, "You may be right," reflects this humility. It acknowledges a simple reality: none of us possesses complete knowledge. This does not mean you should abandon your convictions whenever someone disagrees with you. Stoicism is not about becoming passive or indecisive. Rather, it is about remaining open to evidence and willing to reconsider your position when necessary. Many arguments continue for hours because neither side is interested in discovering the truth. Both sides simply want to win. Imagine two people standing on opposite sides of a mountain. One sees the sunrise. The other sees the sunset. Both describe what they observe. If each insists that only their perspective is correct, conflict becomes inevitable. Yet if both recognize that they may be seeing different parts of the same reality, understanding becomes possible. The phrase, "You may be right," creates room for that understanding. It lowers defenses. It reduces tension. It transforms confrontation into conversation. Over time, Lucian developed a reputation very different from the one he once held. People still recognized his intelligence, but they now admired something even more valuable: his humility. He listened carefully. He considered opposing viewpoints. He asked questions instead of making assumptions. Most importantly, he stopped treating every disagreement like a personal attack. Years later, one of his students asked what had contributed most to his growth as a philosopher. Lucian smiled. "It was the day I stopped trying to prove that I was right and started trying to discover what was true." This lesson remains just as important today. In families, workplaces, friendships, and relationships, countless conflicts are fueled by ego. People become attached to their opinions. They fear looking foolish. They resist correction. As a result, they miss opportunities to learn and strengthen their relationships. The next time someone challenges your viewpoint, resist the urge to become defensive. Listen carefully. Consider their perspective. Ask yourself whether there might be something valuable hidden within their words. Then, if appropriate, calmly say, "You may be right." Those 4 words demonstrate confidence because truly confident people are not afraid of being corrected. They demonstrate humility because wise people understand their limitations. They demonstrate emotional maturity because they place truth above ego. Most importantly, they demonstrate the spirit of Stoicism itself. The Stoic does not seek victory over others. The Stoic seeks mastery over himself. And sometimes, that mastery begins with the simple willingness to admit that another person may be right. 3. I understand your perspective. Wisdom. There is a reason why so many conversations turn into arguments. It is not because people are incapable of understanding one another. It is because most people are listening only to reply, not to understand. They hear words, but they do not hear meaning. They wait for their turn to speak instead of trying to see the world through another person's eyes. This is why one of the wisest phrases you can ever learn is, "I understand your perspective." Notice what this phrase does not mean. It does not mean you agree. It does not mean you surrender your beliefs. It does not mean you accept everything the other person says as true. It simply means that you have taken the time to understand where they are coming from. In a world filled with emotional reactions, this simple act is rare. And because it is rare, it is powerful. Many years ago, in a prosperous coastal city, there lived a respected judge named Adrian. People admired Adrian for his intelligence and fairness. Whenever disputes arose between merchants, neighbors, or families, they often brought their disagreements to him. At first, Adrian approached every conflict the same way. He listened carefully to the facts, analyzed the evidence, and attempted to determine who was right and who was wrong. But over time, he noticed something unusual. Even after he delivered fair judgments, many people remained unhappy. The facts had been considered. The evidence had been examined. Justice had been served. Yet resentment remained. This puzzled him greatly. One evening, Adrian shared his frustration with an elderly Stoic philosopher who had become his trusted friend. The philosopher listened quietly. Then he asked a simple question. "Before giving your judgment, do the people feel understood?" Adrian frowned. "What difference does that make if the decision is correct?" The old philosopher smiled. "It makes all the difference." Adrian spent the next several days reflecting on those words. Soon another dispute arrived. 2 brothers were arguing over land that had belonged to their late father. Each believed he had been treated unfairly. Each carried years of bitterness. Each arrived prepared for battle. As Adrian listened, he noticed something he had previously overlooked. Neither brother truly wanted victory. They wanted validation. They wanted someone to understand their pain. For the first time, Adrian changed his approach. Instead of immediately analyzing facts, he focused on understanding. After listening carefully to the older brother, he said, "I understand your perspective." The man's expression softened. Then Adrian listened to the younger brother, and said the same thing. Again, the atmosphere changed. The conflict did not disappear instantly. But something important happened. The emotional walls began to fall. For the first time, both brothers felt heard. This experience transformed Adrian's understanding of human nature. He realized that many arguments continue not because solutions are unavailable but because understanding is absent. People become trapped inside their own perspectives. They assume their experiences are obvious. They believe others should automatically understand how they feel. When that understanding does not come, frustration grows. The Stoics recognize that every person sees the world through the lens of their own experiences. Two individuals can witness the same event and interpret it completely differently. Neither perspective is necessarily dishonest. Both are shaped by unique experiences, fears, hopes, and beliefs. Wise people remember this. Instead of immediately judging others, they seek understanding. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain. One person observes the eastern side. Another observes the western side. Their descriptions may seem contradictory. One sees sunlight. The other sees shadows. One sees lush vegetation. The other sees rocky terrain. If they argue endlessly about who is correct, either gains understanding. But if each takes time to understand the other's perspective, a more complete picture emerges. Life works much the same way. The phrase, "I understand your perspective," acknowledges this reality. It communicates respect. It demonstrates emotional intelligence. It creates connection even during disagreement. Most people underestimate how powerful this can be. Consider a workplace disagreement. A manager believes an employee lacks commitment. The employee believes the manager is unreasonable. Without understanding, both become defensive. Tension increases. Productivity suffers. Relationships deteriorate. Now imagine the manager saying, "I understand your perspective." Suddenly the conversation changes. The employee feels respected. Defenses lower. Communication improves. Solutions become possible. The same principle applies in families. Parents often struggle to understand their children. Children often struggle to understand their parents. Each side believes the other simply does not get it. Years of resentment can grow from this misunderstanding. Yet a single moment of genuine understanding can begin healing wounds that have existed for years. The Stoics taught that human beings are social creatures. We are meant to cooperate rather than constantly compete. We are meant to build bridges rather than walls. Understanding is one of the strongest bridges we can build. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself that people act according to what seems right to them at the time. Even when their actions appear unreasonable, they are usually responding to their understanding of the world. Recognizing this does not excuse harmful behavior. But it does encourage compassion. When you understand another person's perspective, anger often becomes more difficult to maintain. Compassion begins to replace hostility. Patience begins to replace frustration. Wisdom begins to replace judgment. As Adrian continued serving as a judge, his reputation grew throughout the region. People traveled great distances to seek his guidance. Interestingly, it was not because he possessed superior knowledge of the law. Many judges understood the law. What made Adrian different was his ability to make people feel understood. Before offering advice, he listened. Before judging, he sought understanding. Before speaking, he considered the experiences of everyone involved. Years later, a young apprentice asked Adrian the secret behind his success. The old judge smiled. Then he said something the apprentice never forgot. "People care less about whether you agree with them than whether you understand them." Those words contain profound wisdom. Most arguments are not won through logic alone. Human beings are emotional creatures. We crave understanding. We want our experiences acknowledged. We want our struggles recognized. When someone genuinely understands our perspective, trust begins to form. And where trust exists, meaningful communication becomes possible. This is why the phrase, "I understand your perspective," carries so much power. It reduces conflict without sacrificing truth. It strengthens relationships without compromising integrity. It demonstrates confidence because secure people do not fear understanding opposing viewpoints. Most importantly, it reflects the heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoic seeks wisdom rather than superiority. The Stoic seeks understanding rather than domination. The Stoic understands that every person is fighting battles that others cannot see. The next time you find yourself in a disagreement, resist the temptation to immediately prove your point. Listen carefully. Ask questions. Seek understanding. Then calmly say, "I understand your perspective." You may be surprised by what happens next. Walls begin to crumble. Defenses begin to lower. Conversations become more productive. And people who were once opponents may become allies. That is the quiet power of wisdom. That is the strength of emotional mastery. And that is why this simple phrase can make you sound wise, calm, and deeply respected wherever you go. 4. That's beyond my control. Wisdom. Few lessons in Stoicism are more powerful than learning the difference between what you can control and what you cannot. Yet this is also one of the hardest lessons for most people to accept. Human beings naturally want certainty. We want people to behave the way we expect. We want life to unfold according to our plans. We want every effort to produce the exact result we desire. But life rarely works that way. The Stoics understood that much of our suffering comes from trying to control things that were never ours to control in the first place. Other people's opinions, the weather, the economy, unexpected setbacks, criticism, betrayal, aging, and countless external events exist beyond our influence. The more tightly we cling to these things, the more frustrated and exhausted we become. This is why one of the wisest phrases you can learn is, "That's beyond my control." At first glance, these words may sound passive. Some people mistake them for surrender. They assume that accepting reality means giving up. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Accepting what is beyond your control is not weakness. It is one of the greatest forms of strength. Many years ago, there lived a merchant named Victor. He was ambitious, hardworking, and determined to build a successful trading business. From sunrise until late into the evening, he worked tirelessly. He negotiated deals, managed shipments, and planned for the future. His dream was to create a prosperous life for himself and his family. For many years, his efforts were rewarded. His business grew steadily. His reputation expanded throughout neighboring cities. Customers trusted him. Opportunities seemed endless. Then everything changed. One autumn season, a violent storm struck the coastline. Several ships carrying Victor's merchandise disappeared at sea. Months of investment vanished overnight. When the news arrived, Victor was devastated. He could not sleep. He could not eat. His mind replayed the disaster endlessly. If only I had chosen a different route. If only I had delayed the shipment. If only I had done something differently. Every day he tortured himself with thoughts about what could have been. Weeks turned into months. The ships never returned. The cargo was never recovered. Yet Victor remained trapped in the same cycle of regret. One evening, while walking through the city, he encountered an elderly Stoic teacher sitting quietly beneath a tree. The old man noticed Victor's troubled expression and asked what burden he carried. Victor explained everything. The ships. The storm. The financial loss. The endless regret. When he finished speaking, the philosopher asked a simple question. Could you control the storm? Victor shook his head. No. Could you command the sea? No. Could you determine the weather months in advance? Of course not. The philosopher nodded. Then why are you allowing those things to control your peace of mind? Victor was silent. The question unsettled him. For months he had been fighting reality itself. He was demanding that the past become different. He was arguing with events that had already happened. And no amount of worry could change them. The philosopher continued. The storm was beyond your control. Your response to the storm is within your control. One deserves your attention. The other deserves your acceptance. Those words stayed with Victor long after their conversation ended. For the first time, he began to understand the central principle of Stoicism. Life becomes lighter when you stop carrying burdens that do not belong to you. Over the following weeks, Victor started focusing on what remained within his control. He could not recover the lost ships. He could not change the weather. He could not rewrite the past. But he could improve his plans. He could strengthen his business. He could learn from the experience. Most importantly, he could choose his attitude. Slowly, his peace of mind returned. The situation had not changed. His perspective had. This lesson applies to nearly every struggle we face. Imagine someone criticizes you unfairly. You cannot control their opinion. You cannot force them to understand you. You cannot reach into their mind and change their thoughts. What you can control is your reaction. You can choose patience instead of anger. You can choose dignity instead of defensiveness. You can choose wisdom instead of emotional chaos. Many people spend years trying to manage how others perceive them. They worry constantly about judgment, criticism, and approval. They sacrifice their peace chasing acceptance from people they cannot control. The Stoics would ask a simple question. Why surrender your happiness to something outside your authority? Marcus Aurelius faced criticism throughout his reign as emperor. Some praised him. Others condemned him. Yet he repeatedly reminded himself that other people's opinions belonged to them, not to him. His responsibility was to act according to virtue. The opinions of others were beyond his control. This mindset protected his peace. It can protect yours as well. Consider how much stress comes from worrying about outcomes. A student worries about exam results. An entrepreneur worries about business success. An athlete worries about winning. A parent worries about a child's future. These concerns are understandable. But there is a crucial distinction. Effort is within your control. Outcomes are not always within your control. You can prepare diligently for an exam. You cannot guarantee every question. You can build a business carefully. You cannot control market conditions. You can train relentlessly. You cannot control every competitor. You can guide your children with wisdom. You cannot live their lives for them. The wise person focuses energy where it can make a difference. The unwise person wastes energy fighting reality. As Victor grew older, younger merchants often sought his advice. Many arrived burdened by anxiety. Some worried about competitors. Others feared economic uncertainty. Some obsessed over mistakes from years ago. Victor listened patiently. Then he often shared the same lesson. Ask yourself whether the problem is within your control. If the answer was yes, he encouraged action. If the answer was no, he encouraged acceptance. This simple distinction transformed countless lives. One day, a young merchant asked him the secret behind his calm demeanor. Victor smiled. Then he pointed toward the harbor. Ships moved across the water. Some sailed smoothly. Others struggled against strong winds. The sailor controls the sails, he said. He does not control the wind. The young merchant never forgot those words. Neither should we. Life is filled with winds we cannot command. Unexpected challenges. Disappointments. Losses. Criticism. Setbacks. Change. Trying to control them all leads only to frustration. The Stoic understands a better path. Focus on your character. Focus on your actions. Focus on your choices. Leave the rest to fate. When difficulties arise, pause and ask yourself, is this within my control? If it is, take action. If it is not, practice acceptance. Then calmly remind yourself, that's beyond my control. These 4 words are not an escape from responsibility. They are a declaration of wisdom. They free you from unnecessary suffering. They protect your peace of mind. They allow you to direct your energy toward what truly matters. Most people spend their lives fighting battles they can never win. The wise person chooses different battles. The wise person chooses self-mastery. The wise person understands that peace begins where resistance to reality ends. And that is why the phrase, "That's beyond my control," is one of the most powerful expressions of Stoic wisdom ever spoken. Before we move on to the 5th and final phrase, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. If these Stoic lessons are helping you build resilience, confidence, and inner peace, join our growing community. Together, we are learning timeless wisdom that can transform every area of life and help us face the future with strength and clarity. 5. What can I learn from this? Wisdom. Among all the phrases that make a person sound wise instead of angry, calm instead of emotional, and strong instead of defeated, perhaps none is more powerful than this simple question. What can I learn from this? Most people ask very different questions when something goes wrong. Why is this happening to me? Who is responsible for this? Why is life so unfair? How could this happen? These questions may feel natural, but they often lead nowhere. They keep people trapped in frustration, resentment, and self-pity. The Stoics understood that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can control how we interpret those events. Every challenge contains a lesson. Every setback contains an opportunity for growth. Every difficulty contains the seeds of wisdom. This is why wise people train themselves to ask a better question. Not, why me? But, what can I learn from this? Many years ago, there lived a young blacksmith named Elias. He was known throughout his village for his skill and determination. From sunrise until sunset, he worked beside a blazing furnace, shaping metal into tools, horseshoes, and weapons. Elias dreamed of becoming the finest blacksmith in the region. He believed success was only a matter of time. Then one terrible night, disaster struck. A fire broke out in his workshop. By the time the flames were extinguished, much of his equipment had been destroyed. Years of hard work disappeared in a single night. When the sun rose the next morning, Elias stood among the ashes. His dreams seemed ruined. His future seemed uncertain. His heart felt heavy. For weeks he walked through life filled with bitterness. He complained constantly. He blamed fate. He blamed circumstances. He blamed bad luck. Every conversation returned to the same question. Why did this happen to me? The more he asked it, the worse he felt. One afternoon, while sitting alone near the edge of the village, he met an elderly Stoic traveler. The old man listened patiently as Elias described his loss. When the young blacksmith finished speaking, the traveler asked a surprising question. What have you learned? Elias stared at him. Learned? I lost everything. The old man nodded. And yet the experience has already begun teaching you. Elias frowned. What could a disaster possibly teach me? The traveler smiled. That depends entirely on whether you are willing to learn. Those words stayed in Elias's mind long after the conversation ended. For the first time, he stopped asking why the fire happened. Instead, he began asking what it could teach him. As he reflected, he realized many things. He learned that he had become overconfident. He learned that he had neglected certain safety precautions. He learned that he had relied too heavily on a single workshop. He learned how quickly circumstances can change. Most importantly, he learned that his character remained intact even when his possessions disappeared. These lessons became more valuable than anything the fire had taken from him. Slowly he rebuilt. This time he worked differently. He became more disciplined, more prepared, more resilient. Years later, he owned the largest workshop in the region. Visitors often admired his success. What they did not see were the lessons hidden inside his greatest failure. The Stoics believed that adversity is one of life's greatest teachers. Comfort rarely forces growth. Difficulty does. Challenges reveal strengths we never knew we possessed. Setbacks expose weaknesses we need to address. Obstacles develop resilience that comfort can never provide. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, political turmoil, disease outbreaks, and countless hardships during his reign. Yet he consistently viewed challenges as opportunities to strengthen his character. He understood a profound truth. The obstacle is often the path. The very thing standing in your way may become the source of your greatest growth. Think about your own life. Perhaps you experienced a painful rejection. At the time, it felt devastating. Yet maybe it taught you independence. Maybe it taught you self-respect. Maybe it redirected you towards something better. Perhaps you experienced failure. You worked hard and still fell short. The disappointment was real. But perhaps the experience taught persistence, patience, humility, discipline, qualities that success alone could never have developed. The same principle applies to criticism. Most people react defensively when criticized. Their ego immediately searches for reasons to reject the feedback. Wise people take a different approach. Instead of becoming angry, they ask, "What can I learn from this?" Even unfair criticism can contain useful information. Even harsh words can reveal blind spots. Even difficult experiences can become valuable teachers. This mindset transforms obstacles into opportunities. Imagine two people facing the exact same setback. One becomes bitter. The other becomes better. One focuses on blame. The other focuses on growth. One asks, "Why is this happening to me?" The other asks, "What can I learn from this?" Years later, their lives may look completely different. Not because they experienced different circumstances, but because they responded differently. This is one of the most powerful ideas in Stoicism. Events themselves do not determine our future. Our interpretation of those events often does. As Elias grew older, apprentices traveled from distant towns to study under him. Many expected him to teach techniques for shaping metal. Instead, some of his most important lessons had nothing to do with blacksmithing. Whenever a student made a mistake, Elias refused to allow self-pity. Whenever a project failed, he refused to allow excuses. Instead, he asked the same question every time. "What can you learn from this?" At first, students found the question frustrating. Eventually, they understood its wisdom. Mistakes became teachers. Failures became lessons. Challenges became opportunities. This mindset transformed not only their work but their lives. Years later, one apprentice asked Elias what had contributed most to his success. The old blacksmith looked toward the furnace and smiled. "The fire that nearly destroyed me became the fire that shaped me." Those words capture the heart of Stoic philosophy. Life will test you. Life will disappoint you. Life will challenge you in ways you never expected. Some experiences will feel unfair. Some losses will feel painful. Some obstacles will seem impossible. Yet within every difficulty lies a choice. You can become consumed by anger and resentment. Or you can search for wisdom. You can focus on what was taken from you. Or you can focus on what the experience can teach you. The next time life places an obstacle in your path, pause before reacting. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself a different question. Not, "Why me?" Not, "Whose fault is this?" But, "What can I learn from this?" That single question can transform setbacks into stepping stones, failures into lessons, and difficulties into opportunities for growth. It can make you sound wise instead of angry, strong instead of defeated, calm instead of overwhelmed. And that is why, "What can I learn from this?" is one of the most powerful phrases any Stoic can ever use. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed these timeless Stoic lessons and want more practical wisdom to help you master your emotions, build resilience, and live with greater peace and purpose, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Join our growing community and continue your journey toward wisdom, self-mastery, and inner strength. Remember, the path to a better life begins with mastering your mind.